Hello everyone and welcome. Today in this video I'm going to give you an introduction on the topic of education. As for the other topics that you have studied and will study this year and next year, education is one of the favorite topics that come up in exams. So you should have an idea of all the questions that come to mind related to this very wide topic of education. As usual, I'm going to give you a brief overview in this presentation. It's going to be the start for you of a deeper research into this topic. And of course, this we'll do in class. And as well as in the food for thought section, I will talk about it later on at the end of the series of videos. So let's start with education, and let's start with a definition of education. And first, I'd like to ask this very simple question: what is education for? When I'm talking about education here, I'm going to talk about all kinds of education, all kinds of school. I'm going to talk about primary school. When I mean school, I mean primary school, I mean high school, and then higher education, university, etc. So education is all of those, are part of the wider topic of education. So from primary school to higher education, that is university. So what is education for? Well, there are different and complementary points of view on the subject. The first point of view could be an economic one. Why go to school? Well, the economic point of view says you go to school to have a good job. You go to school to earn a decent wage. You go to school to be able to support yourself and a family, if you have a family, etc. So there's an economic side to this question of education. The second point of view would be a more personal point of view. Again, these points of view complement one another. So the second point of view could be a more personal point of view. You go to school to be able to study and to then have a job that you like, that you are passionate about, to be able to choose what you want to do instead of having to do something that you haven't necessarily chosen. The last point of view is a more concerns more the society as a whole. It's a societal point of view. You go to school to be autonomous, to learn how to think by yourself. You learn how to be an enlightened citizen, un citoyen éclairé, to be able to make choices such as voting, such as how to behave in the society, things like that. So school also teaches you these skills, these competences. Second question that we are going to ask in this video is, if education means school, what kind of schooling are you talking about? And here again, school, by school I mean primary, secondary and higher education. So if education means that you go to school, because that's what most people do, what kind of school are we talking about here? You will see in the texts in class that there are different points of view again, and different ways to consider education and to consider schooling. One type of schooling is based on social control. That is to say, at school, the students should sit and listen to the teacher. They don't have much to say. They should just sit there and learn. It's based on rote learning, which means learning by heart, repetition. It could be based on physical punishment. And it puts the emphasis on academic achievement. That is the main aim of school for these countries and for these systems, is to make the students as best as they can. We were talking about physical punishment a minute ago. Just so you know, caning, which is the hitting students with a cane, was banned only in the late 1980s and even in the 1990s in the UK on the one hand and Australia on the other hand. It was banned in the late 1970s in the US. It's still fairly recent. And it's still widespread in Japan today, for example. So you see that these school systems have a strong emphasis on discipline. They are quite strict on the students in order to make them learn as many things as possible. On the other hand, there are different kinds of systems based on the student well-being, on cooperation, on personal expression, on free thinking, on developing the student's autonomy. These systems you find in Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries. One country that is often cited in example is Finland. You find these systems also in the Montessori type schools, in the Steiner, Waldorf type schools that you find a lot in Germany. We'll talk about that in the food for thought section. But these Montessori schools, for example, are quite widespread in the US and the UK, and they put an emphasis on student cooperation and student autonomy. A few examples that are quite telling. The GAFTA, the big internet companies, well, many of the CEOs, of the bosses and the founders of those companies have come from a Montessori school system. For example, Google's Larry Page did his primary school in Montessori school. For example, Amazon's Jeff Bezos did that also. Wikipedia's founder, Jimmy Wales, also comes from a Montessori education that promotes free thinking, creativity, etc., etc. So you see there are two widely different systems and ideologies behind those systems. Some systems, like the French systems, are based a little bit on both and are evolving. But again, you find the first type of systems mostly in Asian countries, Japan, Singapore, etc. And the second type in Scandinavian countries, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, etc. So that's it for the kind of schooling we're talking about. There are more extreme ways of looking at education. For example, there is a school of thought that is called unschooling, which is the exact opposite of schooling. That is to say, the people who believe in unschooling take their children out of school and believe that children learn best when they are confronted to the real world. So they do activities with their children, everyday activities. They learn math, for example, by cooking. They learn geography by traveling. They learn foreign language by having people coming over and speak different languages. It's more like the school of life type way of thinking. And this is called unschooling. There are also experiments that are being done, for example, in France, with the flipped classroom experiment, which is a little bit what I'm doing right now with you. That is to say, you learn your lessons at home through videos and you practice in class. So that these are experiments that come into the traditional school system to try and do things different ways so that students learn best and feel comfortable at school. We are going to see in the next video what are the main landmarks of higher education this time in the US and the UK. See you soon.